Right now, 1 out of every 10 cars on the planet has a Honda engine inside it. Honda makes the world's best-selling motorcycle, they build cars, jets, robots, and lawnmowers. They are everywhere. But here's what most people don't know. The man who created Honda couldn't even afford clothes as a child. He never graduated from school. He failed so many times that he sold his wife's jewellery just to keep his dream alive. 5 of his siblings died from poverty before they reached adulthood, and the first job he ever got at a car workshop, they didn't let him touch a single tool. Instead, they made him babysit the owner's baby. This is the unbelievable true story of Soichiro Honda, the poorest boy in his village who built one of the greatest companies the world has ever seen. The year is 1906. In a tiny village called Tenryu at the foot of Mount Fuji in Japan, a boy named Soichiro Honda is born. His father Gihei is a blacksmith, a thin, hard-working man who repairs bicycles on the side of the road to feed his family. His mother Mika is a weaver. Together they have 9 children. And the family is desperately poor. So poor that 5 of Soichiro's brothers and sisters died during childhood. Not from disease, not from accidents, from malnutrition. The family simply could not afford enough food or medical care to keep them alive. Young Soichiro wore clothes so old and torn that the other children at school mocked him constantly. The shame of that poverty would scar him for the rest of his life. But it would also fuel everything he built. Because even as a small boy, Soichiro Honda didn't care about school. He hated it. He found the classroom suffocating. He believed the education system killed creativity and crushed curiosity. But machines made his heart race. One day, when he was about 8 years old, Soichiro heard a strange rumbling sound coming from the road outside his village. He ran towards it, and there, rolling slowly through the dust, was a Ford Model T, the first car he had ever seen in his life. He stood frozen, staring, trembling with excitement. Years later, Honda would say about that moment, "I could never forget the smell of the oil. It smelled like perfume to me." That was the moment everything changed. That smell, that machine, that impossible beautiful thing moving under its own power. From that day forward, Soichiro Honda knew exactly what he wanted to do with his life. He wanted to build machines. At 15, with no diploma and no money, Soichiro left his village and traveled to Tokyo. He had seen an advertisement in a bicycle magazine for an automobile repair shop called Art Shokai. He wrote them a letter begging for an apprenticeship. They accepted him, but when he arrived, they didn't let him near a single car. Instead, the shop owner handed him a baby. His job, for months, was to babysit the owner's child. He was paid almost nothing. He swept floors, he carried the baby on his back, while mechanics worked on Lincolns and Mercedes just meters away. The humiliation was crushing. He thought about quitting every day, but the shame of going home a failure was worse. So he stayed, and eventually, the owner noticed his hunger, his obsession, his willingness to do anything. Soichiro was finally allowed into the workshop. He started with small tasks, then bigger ones. He learned fast, faster than anyone expected. Within a few years, he had mastered the art of repairing any car that rolled through the door. His reputation exploded. By 25, he had 50 employees and was earning 1,000 yen a month. A fortune for a boy who once couldn't afford clothes. But repairing other people's machines wasn't enough. He wanted to build his own. In 1936, Soichiro entered a car race at the Tamagawa Speedway. He built his own turbocharged racing car and drove it at terrifying speeds. He was fearless, reckless. And then, during the race, he crashed. The car flipped. He was thrown from the vehicle. His left eye was badly injured. His brother, who was his mechanic, fractured his spine. Doctors told him he could never race again. Most people would have stopped. Honda got back up. He shifted his dream. Instead of racing cars, he would build the parts that go inside them. In 1937, he founded a company called Tokai Seiki to manufacture piston rings for Toyota. But his first attempts were disasters. The piston rings cracked, they failed quality tests, Toyota rejected them. His savings ran dry, he sold his wife's jewellery to keep the factory running. He enrolled in engineering classes at night because he realized he didn't understand the science behind what he was trying to build. Failure after failure after failure. But Honda kept going, he kept experimenting. He kept trying, and eventually his piston rings worked. Toyota accepted them, the factory grew, he had over 2,000 employees, then World War II arrived and destroyed everything. American B-29 bombers flattened his factory in 1944. Then, in 1945, a massive earthquake leveled what was left. Soichiro Honda had lost it all. Again. He sold the wreckage of his company to Toyota for just 450,000 yen. And then, he sat down and did nothing. For an entire year, he later said that year was the darkest of his life. He drank. He wandered. He had no direction. The man who had been building things since childhood had nothing left to build. But in 1946, something clicked. Post-war Japan was devastated. There was no fuel, no public transport. Millions of people had no way to get around, and Soichiro Honda, sitting in his tiny workshop, had an idea. He took a small surplus military generator engine and strapped it to a bicycle. It was crude, loud. It ran on pine resin because there was no petrol. But it worked. People could move again. His wife was his first customer. She used it to ride to distant farms and buy rice for the family. Neighbors saw it. They wanted one too. Then the whole town wanted one. Honda called it the Type A, and it became the seed of everything. In 1948, he officially founded the Honda Motor Company. By 1949, he had designed his first true motorcycle, the Dream D-Type. By the early 1960s, Honda was the largest motorcycle manufacturer on the entire planet. But Soichiro Honda still wasn't satisfied, because his childhood dream had never been about motorcycles. It had always been about cars. In the 1960s, the Japanese government told Honda to stick to motorcycles. They said Japan didn't need another car company. They tried to block him with regulations. Honda ignored them. In 1967, he released the N360, a small, affordable car for everyday families. It was a massive hit. Then came the Civic in 1972. Then the Accord, cars that were reliable, fuel-efficient, and affordable. Cars built for ordinary people, just like the boy from Tenryu had always dreamed. By 1980, People magazine named Soichiro Honda one of the 25 most intriguing people in the world. They called him the Japanese Henry Ford. If this story is inspiring you, hit subscribe right now. We tell stories like this every single week. The untold journeys behind the world's biggest brands. Turn on notifications so you never miss. 1. Soichiro Honda retired in 1973. He refused to let his own son take over the company. He said a company should be led by talent, not bloodline. He spent his final years painting, flying helicopters, skiing, and hang gliding at 77 years old. Still restless, still curious, still the boy who chased a car down a dirt road. On August 5th, 1991, Soichiro Honda died of liver failure. He was 84. Days later, at the Hungarian Grand Prix, Ayrton Senna, driving a Honda-powered McLaren, won the race and dedicated his victory to the old man from Tenryu. Today, Honda sells over 30 million engines every year. It is the largest engine manufacturer on Earth. And it all started with a poor boy who smelled oil for the first time and thought it was perfume. Some people are born with everything and build nothing. Soichiro Honda was born with nothing and built everything.